There's plenty to think about before you buy a home computer.
Electronic games being heralded by folks in the trade as this year's holiday bestseller.
Children have skipped school or stolen money to play the games.
I'll be looking at the electronic game craze.
And at the end of the tape, I'll be back to tell you how to safeguard your computer.
Hello! Okay. I think we have a proper start to a stream, unlike what happened earlier this week. Welcome to Streamer News. Oh boy. So, it's been an absolute roller coaster of a week. I have only just about woken up an hour ago to get ready for this, because my child refuses to sleep this week. We got... The roller coaster involves very good things happening alongside the not so good, so that's good at least. But welcome to Streamer News for Friday, May 28th, 2021. My allergies are going nuts, so I probably sound super congested. I apologize. We got some stuff to talk about. We've got some big stuff, some little stuff, and some stuff that you may not care about, but stuff that I care about that we're going to talk about, as we do every week here on this show. Love from Finland. Well, hello! It must be fairly late for you there. Alright, jumping into the housekeeping just to get us started here. I wanted to first mention that we do have our Discord community game night tomorrow, May 29th. It's a Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are playing Battlefield Bad Company 2. So, if you want to get in on that action, join us on Discord, discord.gg/eposvox. We're going to be raiding servers and having a lot of fun, because Bad Company 2 is still a lot of fun and is still playable. Now, if you're looking to pick it up for yourself, I would recommend going with Origin, because currently there is a bug with Steam where it doesn't actually give you a CD key, and you need that CD key to actually activate it to play multiplayer, whereas on Origin, it works fine. So, if you don't actually own the game for some reason, I own it on just about every platform at this point, you can pick it up on Origin. It is super cheap, but either way, we're going to be playing that. It's going to be great. Please join us. And yeah, love from Indonesia as well. Wow. All right, we are reaching some pretty cool places. All right, so in terms of other stuff, we have here, since our last stream, of course, we had the two big AverMedia launches. We had the Livestreamer Nexus as well as the Livestreamer Mic 330. And a lot of less people cared about the Livestreamer mic, and that's fine because it wasn't great, but the Livestreamer Nexus has a lot of potential. It just needs a little bit of work, and so that is what I like to see here. I am checking something for the stream real quick, but overall, I think the Livestreamer Nexus is not a bad product. I think it just needs some TLC. There we go. My windows are finally sorted. So along with that, we finally got my RetroTink 5X review, which you have here, which is an upscaler unit for your retro game consoles or VCRs or whatever. It is wonderful. I spent very long time on that and then had to delay it a little bit, so please go check that out. And then we also had a review of the Level 1 Text DisplayPort Cloner, or DisplayPort Repeater, which basically takes your DisplayPort signal from your graphics card, spits it back out to DisplayPort to your monitor, and then you get an HDMI feed out to a capture card or a second monitor or what have you. And it is a pretty sick little device that I actually rely on for my workflow for screen capturing and things like that. Then we had the premiere episode, which, if you were there, was a complete train wreck thanks to Restream being a disaster for YouTube, at which point I can no longer recommend Restream after this experience, but we did have our first live episode of my new show, AFK Chat, which is my Amazon Live show. If you go follow me on there and support that show, it is a huge help to the channel. Also, for those who were concerned during the last stream, there were a lot of people who were concerned that they couldn't chat without having their real names shown. You can actually go in the chat and give yourself a nickname so that it doesn't show your real name. So a lot of people were kind of concerned about that. It's mostly a non-issue as long as you give yourself a nickname first. So a lot of people had figured that out by the time the stream had ended, but a lot of people kind of bounced back to YouTube because they didn't want their name showing, which is understandable. I get it. So there's that. So then we had a follow-up to the live streamer Nexus, which was me testing just about every microphone I own on it. The only issue that, or the only mic that I left out was the Rode Procaster, because I own it. It is one of my favorite, like, $200 mics to recommend. I don't know where it went. I don't know that I've seen it since the move. I know it's somewhere, but I have gear and storage all out of whack at the moment. I don't know if you saw my post on Twitter, but I ended up making this whole, like, tote full of microphones to kind of compensate for this because, yeah. It's just about every other microphone that I have. And I will be doing the same thing for the Go XLR at some point. And the goal is, especially now that I'm in my own, you know, I bought a house, I'm in a studio that theoretically I'm not going to leave for quite a few years. I'm going to kind of build this up as a back catalog of tests, both for these microphones and the audio interfaces. That way, the next time I want to review a microphone, I don't have to re-record all of those segments. I can keep referencing the same one, which is a huge efficiency boost. And gives, when I do the Go XLR one, that just gives a dry, you know, mic point to compare to. A lot of people had some issues with the, a lot of people had issues with the fact that I was adding gain in post. And I want to kind of talk about that for a second, because I think that frustration was kind of misguided, because I understand the idea conceptually that you want the complete raw output of a microphone into an audio interface as your point of comparison. But if you're actually evaluating how an audio interface makes a microphone sound, you need them normalized, or you're not hearing them at the same level and you can't actually compare the sound in the first place. Plus, if you're sitting there cranking your headphone volume up and down because, you know, one mic's going to be quiet, the next is going to be loud, you're going to get ear fatigue, and that's not going to work out, and it's just going to blow people's eardrums out. And any background hiss or whatever that comes from adding gain in post, which is going to happen no matter how you do it, is something that needs to be considered to the end user. You're not just going to leave the mic super quiet and inaudible. That's not useful. You're going to add gain in post. So that is how you're going to use it. And whether you add it in OBS or in your audio editor or in your video editor, you have to do it at some point. And so I am presenting what the end user has to basically end up with as the end result, or else it's not useful. So I think some of that was misguided. It was only a couple people, but that comes up during a lot of microphone reviews, and I think it's a little silly because there's no use case in which you're leaving the microphone quiet when it needs to be audible. So yeah, so there's that. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Love the in-depth reviews. Really awesome background noise. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Enjoy your Grand Theft Auto. All right, so we're going to start with some DMCA topics today and then kind of bounce around because I don't want to keep it too hard-hitting right off the start, but we do have some stuff to talk about here. First and foremost is not actually Twitch-related, it's Comcast-related. A bunch of Comcast customers were receiving notices that they have been given DMCA strikes effectively, or DMCA requests by copyright holders for the Ubuntu ISO. Now, the original kind of reaction from a lot of us was those people were just trying to fake, you know, whatever movie or game they were downloading by masking it as an Ubuntu ISO, which happens and is easily trackable. And then they're just going to cry foul, even though it's already obvious to the copyright holder. Thank you for the super chat, Matty Fresh Gaming. However, the reporting party is OPSEC Online Anti-Piracy. And then, so these are clearly fake strikes because it turns out there were people who were just seeding Ubuntu ISOs that were getting DMCA emails. But then you have, oh, they deleted it. Oh no. I wonder if we can Wayback Machine this. The OPSEC security or whatever ended up tweeting, and they spelled DMCA wrong. They said DCMA. Surely someone Waybacked this. Yeah, we're gonna look at this. You can't hide from us, OPSEC. Or not. Well, effectively, the company that actually... Aw, boo. That's lame. Well, effectively, the company that was the responsible party for filing those DMCA emails for the Ubuntu downloads were claiming that someone had gained access to their DMCA strike service, content ID service, whatever, and were submitting false strikes. The issue is, I keep saying strikes as if it's YouTube. This is internet service providers, not YouTube, but you know what I'm saying. The issue here is that, first and foremost, they said it was for a specific day, and there were a ton of requests prior to that day. They were spelling DMCA wrong throughout the screenshotted PR statement they released and their own tweet, which just kind of implies that they don't have a clue what they're talking about in the first place. And there were a couple other sticking points with it that I forgot to write down. But effectively, they just kind of embarrassed themselves. On top of the fact that, if I load this here, their Twitter account, oh, so they have released a new one that has DMCA spelled correctly. Oh, now they have released a separate statement. Oh my God. Okay, I really wish I had a screenshot of this first one, because the first one that they said that they released, that I have the link for, they were saying that someone gained access to their copyright system and were submitting false strikes on their behalf, and this was some long tail con to like tarnish their reputation and this whole conspiracy theory. And again, they spelled DMCA wrong, and now they're just saying that they had nothing to do with it. Okay, on top of the fact that their name is literally Operational Security. That's like an ATM machine. Redundancy, but whatever. So they have completely changed their statement from what their statement was prior. Oh, hey, here's the original tweet. Hell yeah. So they're saying right now they can categorically state that they had nothing to do with this matter, and yet their original statement was their DCMA notice sending program was spoofed on Wednesday, which, by the way, there were messages before then, by unknown parties across multiple streaming platforms. The content in question all appears to be Ubuntu Linux ISO. We have incontrovertible evidence that proves that these DMCA notices were not perpetrated by or originated with OPSEC security. They are occasionally spoofed by a third party in an attempt to damage their reputation. These attempts are easily identifiable and easily disproven. These are very, very different statements. So the whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a disaster. But they're not the only ones facing DMCA issues. Twitch sent out an email last night as well, stating that they have recently received more than 1,000 individual takedown notifications from music publishers, all for VODs. The vast majority target streamers listening to background music while playing video games or IRL streaming. They believe the rights holders are using automated tools to scan and identify copyrighted music in VODs and clips. The stuff we already know that started a year ago. They started a year ago. It was literally last June that I was first talking about it, along with Mixer shutting down on this very show. So they act like this is brand new. They're saying that they are actively speaking with music labels about solutions that could work for creators as well as rights holders. This is their first such contact from the music publishing industry. They are disappointed that they decided to send takedowns when we are ready and willing to speak to them about solutions. None of this makes any sense. None of it is true. And they even highlight, and I think this is worth noting. Is it in this copy of the email? In the expanded email, I think it's down here under what Twitch is doing. Oh yeah, multi-track audio support for OBS and more. They reference the tool to send multiple audio tracks to Twitch, which you cannot use to bypass DMCA, and say that that's something they're introducing to help with these issues, even though they know that it doesn't work that way. It's mind-boggling. So, the issue here is, again, this didn't start new. This isn't a new thing. This isn't the first contact they've had from the music publishing industry. They're speaking to music labels instead of publishers. Labels don't get control over these things. The publishers do. It's in the name. Publisher. And this is basically saying that they're doing a lot to make it look like they're not doing nothing to continue to do nothing as long as possible until their safe harbor becomes at risk, I guess, until like they start actually losing it. And so people are already receiving these takedown notices and their content being taken down again, which again, don't stream license, music you don't have license to. Use our music service, backingtrack.gg or Pretzel Rocks, which we will be on, by the way. We will be on Pretzel Rocks very, very soon. So those of you who've been requesting that, we made it happen. And of course, there's other royalty-free music services and things like that as well. But of course, this is still an issue for those who use music from games or whatever that end up getting flagged or whatever that Twitch seems to just be doing absolutely jack about. And actually, the founder, or one of the founders of Pretzel Rocks, actually identified that a part of the lie here, and that they say that it's weird that the publishers are choosing to take down rather than have conversations, because Twitch has been waiting to have conversations, when I remember there being multiple of these kinds of op-ed things from the actual music industry being like, yo, Twitch, we need to play ball. And Twitch not getting involved. So this is a random weird PR move, not even a lawyer move, and it's really kind of crappy because this is effectively just gaslighting streamers while they continue to do nothing to protect them. And a few people have mentioned that they feel that Amazon is too big to kind of be, I don't know, sued or whatever over these kinds of issues. But keep in mind, the reason we have such a thorough and content creator protecting Content ID and copyright system on YouTube is because Google was at risk of losing safe harbor for YouTube over this exact same thing. So I don't really see how, I don't know, guys. Twitch, this is not the way to handle it at all. Moving on, this is currently out of stock, which was not the case this morning when I made sure I was including it on my list. But in case you want to add to your watch list and see if it comes back in stock, Gigabyte is now selling a 28-inch 4K 144 Hz monitor, which actually comes with the right connections, that being DisplayPort 1.4 and HDMI 2.1, and it has 2 of those ports, so you can connect your Xbox One X, or Series X rather, or PlayStation 5 should you happen to have them. It is a 1 millisecond IPS panel. It is 4K 144 Hz, like I said. It is FreeSync. It is only $600, which is a lot. And for a lot of people, that is way too much to spend on a monitor. But for these specs, given the other monitors we have seen, which have been in the thousands, this is not terrible. This is actually a pretty good price and one of the more affordable options. And even better was it was coming with a free purchase or free copy of Outriders, and they were throwing in a $20 Newegg gift card along with it. Now, obviously, it's currently out of stock, but if you want to go, like I said, follow the listing or whatever and see if it comes back in stock at some point, I would recommend it because that is a pretty good deal. The only real detractor that I would say about this specific monitor is if you really like HDR, it is only HDR 400 nits peak brightness. So it's not going to be great for that, but whatever. All right. I am actually going to hit our break spot early because I need to blow my nose and I don't want to put you all through it. We have been going for a little while here, but stick with me. We've got some really big topics. We're going to talk about the hot tubs, and I got some cool other stuff to talk about. So be back in just a mo.
Back to PlayStation!
Do you need stream-safe music for your streams and videos, but want something a little heavier? My awesome community sought to solve that and made Backing Track. Hard rock and heavy metal music, safe for your content and free to use. No subscriptions. Head over to backingtrack.gg to stream it or join our Discord for free downloads.
Sega is rolling out a new video game console this week.
It's one world. Why view it through 2 windows? Panasonic introduces the 36-inch SVGA TV.
That was weird. Stream Deck's giving me issues lately. Anyway, we do have one more sponsor mention for today, and that is Curiosity Stream has been running a Memorial Day sale that ends on Monday the 31st. I believe that's Monday. Yeah. Going live now until the 31st, which makes it 41% off your annual plans at curiositystream.com/epos. CuriosityStream is the platform that has partnered with my own streaming service I've built with my creator friends, Nebula. On Nebula, you get early access to my videos, you get some behind-the-scenes stuff, and you get extended cuts from the normal versions. So, for example, on Monday, I have an interview going live with Mr. Greggles, the drum streamer, and the full extended cut is going to be up on Nebula, which is like over an hour, whereas the YouTube version is going to be like 20 minutes. And there's a lot of content. We talked about a lot of streaming stuff there. And we partnered with Curiosity Stream, so you get access to all of Nebula together with thousands of documentary content over on Curiosity Stream for less than $12 per year using coupon code EPOSVOX and going to my link at checkout. Also, they have a documentary about pizza called Pizza: A Love Story, which you should check out because pizza's great. All right, moving on to the rest of our topics here. The Nintendo 64 Digital, which is an updated HDMI mod for the Nintendo 64, created by Dan, who builds the PlayStation 1 Digital and the Dreamcast Digital, as well as a couple other people, like I believe Woozle64 is involved. They created this Pixel FX company. The Nintendo 64 Digital that they are releasing is getting a game ID system, so you can set individual video settings for the digital output per game, which is insane. You will need specific flashcard updates to send that data, but it can basically detect data from your flashcard and know what game you're running to then send out individual customized game setting or video settings per game, which is absolutely pretty awesome. Moving on, we got more Twitch news, but this is good news. Twitch has introduced 350 new tags to the tag system. They have finally answered the request that you saw on every stupid statement they made on Twitter demanding them to add a trans tag. They have finally added a trans tag, along with a million other ones related to gender, sexual orientation, race, nationality, ability, mental health, and more, as well as specific types of games and things like that. This was something that they have been working on behind the scenes and just failed to communicate, which is why the demand was so high and people were so ticked about it, because it was the most voted user voice request for Twitch in their feature requests in the entire history of the platform, and they just kind of remained silent on it. They gave an initial reply of okay, we hear you, and then never mentioned it again, when really all they had to do was be yo, we're working on it still, hey, it's coming soon, and instead they were trying to keep it as a surprise launch for Pride or something, which just feels very for-profit corporate-y, like Lego selling queer Legos just in time for Pride, but then they're not going to sell them anymore. That's just making a product and not benefiting anybody. So it felt a little weird, but they are finally doing it, and it seems to be working pretty well, and there's a lot of categories involved here that seems to be great. And of course, the reason they were taking so long was they were trying to do it right by working with specific organizations related to the various marginalized communities that they're representing here, but all Twitch had to do was communicate. And I find this hilarious because, as you all probably know, I have been around on YouTube and the internet and streaming and blah, blah, blah for a very long time. These exact same sentiments of hey, all Twitch had to do was communicate was the exact same sentiment we had about YouTube in 2015, 2016. When everyone was jumping ship, YouTube is over party from YouTube to Twitch, everyone's wow, YouTube just really needs to communicate and things would be okay. YouTube fixed it, and now Twitch is back in that position. So it's just funny seeing the ebb and flow of these platforms, because everyone acted like Twitch was the safe haven for everything. It's not great. Moving on, this is just a note I wanted to share. I don't necessarily have a ton to talk about, but the Internet Archive team worked together with the New York Times digital team to take a look at and build a list and start working on what they call link rot, which is public-facing hyperlinks that go to websites or articles or whatever that are broken. The source material has changed their link and that link doesn't represent it, or the content has just disappeared entirely from the internet. Sorry, hang on. Allergies suck. And so This is something that obviously is kind of problematic in terms of history tracing, in terms of preservation, all of that. And so they are working to kind of build systems with these major publications in order to better kind of keep that going. That way they can automatically fall back to Internet Archive versions or something when the originals go down or something like that. That way, because like you pick up an old newspaper and other than the newspaper itself getting destroyed, like the scanned copies in a library still have all of those original articles, whereas on a news website, you go back in time and everything's going to be broken. And so I think it's kind of important in terms of preservation. I am so sorry. Give me just a sec. Okay, so next up we have some NVIDIA news, and this may have been backtracked, but we don't know for certain. And that is that the upcoming driver, or the driver that just released, could be the last one that has direct official support for 600 and 700 series GPUs. However, apparently they may have sort of backtracked on that statement, so it's not entirely certain. I will say at this point, like, this is not a big deal, IMO at least, because those are very aged graphics cards at this point. You will still be able to download the driver that supports them, and the cards will still continue to work. You just won't get new driver features or whatever. But it's not like those graphics cards are getting new features anyway. So I don't think this is a huge deal, but there has been some talk that they have kind of accelerated how quickly they drop support for older graphics cards over the past few years. This may be due to a structural change with how their drivers are developed or released. For example, at least on Windows, you know, everything's moving to the Windows Store releases for it, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And so maybe that's not compatible with the older stuff. Like, there could be reasons. But it is time to pour one out for the workhorses, sort of, not really, of the 600 and 700 series GPUs. My 660 is actually up on a shelf behind me. I got it signed when I went to DreamHack Dallas with NVIDIA. And so that was pretty cool. It no longer works. I even cleaned it up and tested it before I flew out with it and got everyone's hands on it. But it kicked the bucket. But I ran my YouTube channel on that 660 for a very long time using NVENC before I even realized, like, how important that was. Speaking of Windows Store and stuff like that, Microsoft has teased what they're calling a next generation of Windows. However, all of the, like, supposedly there's some UI changes, but the big thing seems to be the new Windows Store, which we talked about a couple weeks ago here on Streamer News. They are making changes to the Windows Store, which allows creators and developers to more easily and seamlessly introduce, my stream just ran an ad for some reason. To more seamlessly introduce, words are escaping me, Windows 32 apps, unpackaged apps, because originally the Windows Store was only UWP, and then they moved to this new weird packaged version of Win32 apps, so you can get stuff that isn't UWP on there, but they still have to be packaged a certain way, and they are now moving to basically being able to support whatever, which I think is an incredibly important move. I don't think it justifies a new generation of Windows. I think they just need to update the store. You can do that. It's fine. But they also confirmed that Windows 10X, the one built for tablets and dual screen devices, is no longer going to be a thing because the world realized that dual screen devices weren't going to stick around. Yeah. Our good friends over at Nerd or Die have released a free resource which I have been asking for someone to make forever, and it is a media looper, which effectively allows you to just sit here and have your different lower thirds or, you know, graphics at the bottom of your screen for subscribing, notifying the bell, your sponsors or whatever, to just keep looping them at the bottom of your stream without rendering out a big video file. I've been trying to figure out how to do this for a very long time, and it's actually really simple. They just built an HTML file for it, and you just drag it on your OBS, and it works great, which is pretty cool. This is really sick. It is a free resource. Although I do recommend you go check out their layouts and things like that at eposfox.gg/nerd or die. You can save 15% with coupon code eposfox. But this is really handy. I wanted to set it up for this stream, but I just didn't have time before the stream started to get it going. But it is really easy to use. Like, this is effectively all you need to do. It is super sick. And I already have some feature requests in place for a version 2, because there are some upgrades I'd like to see. But overall, it is awesome. What's up, Brian Paul? Hope you're having a good day. Next up, Valve is supposedly making a Steam Pal, which is a Switch-like portable gaming PC, and they are very late to the party, because if you've watched Low Spec Gamer or Linus Tech Tips, you'd know that there are a lot of these computers out there already, and I don't know that Valve necessarily has anything unique to offer it. I could be mistaken. I would love to be surprised. But along with that, like, yeah, they're making a handheld, cool, whatever. I don't see the point. Okay, so I have an issue with these little handheld gaming computers, and I always have, because they're cool conceptually. Like, yeah, you get basically a Nintendo Switch that runs PC games and whatever, but you can only fit such a degree of specs in there, so they end up being a fairly low-spec gaming experience, and they end up being super expensive, so the specs you were getting for the money is not worth it really at all. Well, that is kind of a problem, because if you're going to play on a low-spec device, you should pay low-spec prices, and if you're going to pay on a high-end device, then that's what you're paying for with high-end prices. And for a lot of these portable computers, you could get a decent, like, really powerful gaming laptop and an Xbox controller and have almost the same experience. Well, a better gaming experience, but almost the same portable experience. And so I've never personally, like, understood the appeal, but I've never used one. So maybe I'm just ignorant and waiting to be convinced by actually trying one. But what I do find weird is, along with the Steam Pal, they have been releasing or beta testing updates to the Steam UI, including this big zoomed in version of the downloads UI, which looks kind of neat and a little bit fancier, but it isn't that different from the existing downloads page. It just takes up more space and is less space efficient. There's less games on screen and things like that. So I'm not a fan of everything moving to like giant buttons and using my space less, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having a high DPI display if everything's going to be supersized and take up more space than it did before. I just get annoyed by little stuff like that. Next up, I don't actually have this pulled up yet. There's not a link for the mods to work on, but I wanted to show it, so I'm going to pull it out here because I think it is very noteworthy to talk about. I got an email today, or not today, this week, that was by far the worst sponsor offer I have ever received in my entire history of being a creator. And it's so bad that I just wanted to kind of show it and talk about it with you guys so that we could break down everything that's wrong with it, and that way you can avoid it. Because I think realistically, most of you aren't going to run into this issue. Like, most of you will probably know not to go for it, but not everybody will. And I don't want to see someone get screwed, because people often like to just jump at money. And that's not always the answer. So I want to see if this is visible. That should work. So I'm not going to make any direct judgment statements about this Incast platform on the whole. Incast, from what I can tell, I get a lot of emails from them about sponsorship offers. I think they're just like a FameBit style sponsorship marketplace or whatever. I've never actually used them. But they sent me this one, which was a streaming contract, which a lot of you may be like, yeah, getting paid to stream, that's the goal, right? Yeah. Except, here we go. You were pre-approved to participate in this campaign. Duration, 1 month, with the possibility to renew every month. Requirements, 32 hours a month in 20 broadcasting days. Okay, so here the math already falls apart, because it's a broadcasting day is a minimum of 2 full hours per day. So if you have 20 days that are 2 full hours, that's 40 hours, not 32 hours. You can't do 32 hours and cover the 20 days. So it's 40 hours a month for $400 per month. Now, that's a 10 division, so I don't have to do this. But 40 hours divided by $400 that's not the right. $10 per hour, which is basically minimum wage. Which, like, sure, if you're fine getting paid minimum wage for whatever you do, like, inherently there's nothing wrong with that. But to take a creator, keep in mind, like, I'm not blowing smoke up my own butt here, but, like, I am an established creator, which requires a lot more payment for streaming gigs in the first place. To take an established creator who is working full-time on their job, on what they do here, doing a lot of things, and to, first of all, ask them to stream for 32 to 40 hours out of a month, which is a lot of freaking work and a huge detraction from what they're doing, is already too much. You don't show up with the first offer and asking to... You don't show up with the first offer and be like, you want to dedicate 40 hours of your month to our project that you've never heard of? No. But to then do that and not compensate them in an extreme way to make up for that complete, like, inconvenience and problematic ask is insane. So even if it was like 10 hours per month for $10 an hour or whatever it was, that's still not enough. No streamer should be jumping on whatever new platform they've never heard of, risking whatever, hurt to their brand or taking away from creation time for their actual platforms that they spend time on for $10 an hour. That's not worth it. Pretty much no one should be doing that unless you've never streamed before and for whatever reason you're getting that offer. But then to do that and like if you're gonna show up and be like, we really want this creator, we want to lock them down, we want them to do a lot of work here, then you show up and bring a bucket of cash to them because you're taking away from their job. So, for example, if someone approached me asking me to do 40 hours of streaming in a month, I would ask way higher than my normal rate would be because that is so much lost momentum, time, sleep, effort towards my normal YouTube work or towards my normal streaming work or my freelance work or whatever. There is so much lost momentum and money that honestly you're probably not going to make back by any exposure or whatever on this platform, that your rate should be way higher than normal for these kinds of big asks. On top of the fact that you get to the bottom and it says your profile still needs to be approved by Pucha or Pococha or whatever the hell it is. But I'm pre-approved. It says pre-approved right here. So I'm pre-approved, but I still need to be approved. And so they're coming in with this absurd ask, this completely insane offer that no one should ever take. Please don't take this. These are red flags everywhere. And then to say that you're also not even fully approved is absolutely insane. So normally I don't even respond to offers that I don't care about in the first place. Like, I just archive them. That's not worth my time. You're not entitled to a response when you send someone an email. But this was one of the times where I actually sent just a basic, not trying to be aggro, but just basic response of, hey, I just wanted to let you know, this is by far the worst offer I have ever received in my 12 plus years of doing this kind of brand work in my entire career. And they haven't responded. I will post an update on Twitter, so go follow me there, or in the Discord server, discord.gg/evilsfox. If they do respond, I don't expect they will. But it's one of those things where I get a lot of generally just bad offers or dumb requests or silly product things that I tweet about all the time, and I just laugh them off. This one was so egregious that I genuinely started to feel offended, not only on my behalf, but knowing that there are other creators that maybe need some money or otherwise, have been waiting for their big break or whatever, that have to seriously deliberate if this is the right choice for them and have to stress out of, are they missing out on money by not dedicating all of this time? Or heaven forbid a creator actually jump in and dedicate 40 freaking hours a month to this random platform for barely any money. It's insane. My mind is blown. So, like I said, I'll post an update if they respond, but this is one of those that I just feel I have to highlight because it's so insane. I don't get emails that are this bad that often. A topic I'm very, very excited for is Panasonic released, or not released, but announced, teased, whatever, a Panasonic GH6, a Panasonic GH5 II, which is supposedly like more streaming focused or whatever. And then they announced firmware updates for the GH5S, the G9, and the G100. And this specifically adds to the GH5S ProRes RAW in full resolution. So we're talking 4K 60 and like the 3.7K anamorphic and all of that. ProRes RAW over HDMI to devices like the Atomos Ninja V, which is a huge quality of life upgrade for that camera. I actually have a GH5S that I've kept as a B cam that I use sometimes. And I have always wanted a little bit more control over the image and things like that. And RAW, like I had considered some of the Sony cams that can output ProRes RAW to the recorder. And it is here now. The only issue is my Ninja V is now tied up in my desktop recording setup, so I'll have to see if I can get a second one for this purpose. But if so, I'm going to have a really sick little mobile RAW shooting rig that'll do 4K 60 with no crop, which is insane. Also, they announced that there is a very much improved autofocus system for the GH5S, but every time they say that, usually, you know, that's not the case. So I'm not too worried about it, but yeah. I wanted to address, usually I don't interrupt the topics for this, but I wanted to address one of the chat messages. Rex is actually asking, my question is, what if you put in more than 40 hours a month? Is it still locked to 400? Yes. So obviously I don't have more details for that specific contract or anything, but generally speaking, the way that these streaming deals work out is that you are required to stream for a minimum of X hours / days of a week or month, and you are given a guaranteed minimum earnings. Now, most of those platforms include an incentive to earn a little bit more based on streaming more, but it's not just more money. It is like more affiliate revenue, or you get ad revenue thrown on top, or something like that, which on most of those websites is not anything. So yeah, you can end up streaming 800 hours, 80 hours a month, and still only get paid 400 and maybe like an extra $5. And then your money per hour shoots way down. So yeah, worth noting there. USB-C is getting a new standard update, so we are moving on to USB-C USB Type-C version 2.1. As if none of this gets any less confusing. This is an article from CNET, by the way. But they are getting a power upgrade to allow up to 240 watts of power to be delivered for gaming laptops, docking stations, and 4K monitors, which means that theoretically, once this standard rolls out more, becomes more common, and we see more devices implement it, we could see just about everything moving to USB Type-C for power as well, and a lot more of that. You can power your laptop from the monitor or power everything from your laptop kind of thing, which is really sick. So I am annoyed at how confusing and messed up the overall rollout of USB changes have been since USB-C was supposed to unify that. But yeah. So I just got breaking news from our community manager. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pull it up. Backing track, the music you're hearing in the background now, I'm going to cut away from me logging in here, is available on Pretzel Rocks right now. Holy crap. Breaking news. Well, my premium apparently expired, I think. Oh, no. It's not expired. Okay. I don't want to download it right now. No. No. On the fly things. Curtio. Windows. Chrome does this weird thing sometimes where it doesn't let you click after you've had an Explorer thing. All right, here we go. Artists. All right, how do I search? Ah! All right, Backing Track is on Pretzel Rocks. Those of you who have been asking for it, we are here. So if you already have that service and you don't want to loop in another streaming service or whatever, we are here. We've got all the tracks. Well, that's not all of them in that specific list, but we have some of the music here. Yes, including the Epic Versus album, which is my favorite so far. All right, so that is freaking awesome. Search Backing Track, and click the artist for it, and you will have our backing track tracks over on Pretzel Rocks. Hell yeah. That was fast. So those of you who use that service, which is great, by the way, it's an awesome music streaming service. I covered it a lot last year, actually. We are available for there, so you can loop us into. So actually, I want to mention this real quick. A lot of people have been requesting us to do different genres that are either already very well covered by other royalty-free music streaming services or just very detached from what we're doing here, because we've made it pretty clear we are focused on rock and heavy metal style music, because that is sorely missing from a lot of the royalty-free music services. Someone's saying, I wish there was a DMC a safe ambient, but there's like a ton of that. But there isn't a ton of metal and things like that. And so people are requesting us to do these genres that aren't related to what we're doing at all, or that are already like very well covered in the catalogs here. And so the idea is that with royalty-free streaming music services, you curate the music that goes in a stream. You shouldn't necessarily, although we won't, blame you for it, but you shouldn't necessarily just be loading up a singular playlist and leading with that and never paying attention to what you stream in the background of your music. You should be curating the songs you actually like and want to share with your audience. And so with that, you can go on Backing Track and add us to your stream playlist with whatever other music you want here and blend everything together, which I think is really powerful and really important. And so I am so stoked for this. I am very excited that this is here. I will have to go through these soon because this is freaking awesome. Yeah, the first page was only showing 15 tracks. We've got 40. Oh, wait. We've got more than 40. We've got 43 tracks on Pretzel currently. Oh, it said it right here. For 2 hours of music, which is enough for a lot of streams. And like I said, you can incorporate it with some of the other rocky music on Pretzel for now, and we will have more music releases coming every month up until Christmas. And those of you who want to remix it for yourself and make new tracks from it or what have you, we will have stems coming in the month of June. So pretty stoked for that. All right, back to the rest of today's topics as I figure out where my tab situation is. Atomos, who we were just talking about, announced a new Shinobi, which is not their recorder line. It's their just dedicated. It's basically the Ninja recorders, but without the recorder part. It's just the screen. So it's a touchscreen Pro Video monitor, has great HDR replication, great color accuracy, all of that, LUT box, things like that. So stoked to see that they're updating that line finally. There's not going to be a BlizzCon this year, because I'm pretty sure even the janitors at Blizzard are working on Call of Duty instead of Blizzard-related things. Xbox announced their games showcase with Bethesda pairing together instead of Bethesda having their own, of course. It'll be Xbox and Bethesda paired up here on June 13th, which, of course, will be a part of E3 / Jeff Keighley's games event thing kind of together. Both of them were promoting it, so really stoked for that. Just going through some of these pretty quick because they're not a huge deal. Supposedly, we're getting Uncharted 4 coming to PC, according to some leaked PlayStation documents. We also got a look at the reveal, or the logo of God of War Ragnarok, although I'm pretty sure they've already shown that before. So that's pretty neat. I do hope they speed up the pace at which they release games on PC without requiring, crunch for it or something like that. But also, I do find it really annoying that they release... They only port or remaster a specific sequel in a multi-game franchise. So for example, we have Uncharted 4, but not the rest of the Uncharted games coming to PC. Who hasn't played the rest of the Uncharted games would want to jump in on game 4? I mean, some people would, but overall, that's kind of an awkward entry point to jump in the middle of a story. And obviously, something is better than nothing, but I'd love to see more effort put in by Sony for getting entire franchises ported over, because I had a huge frustration with them remastering God of War 3 to come over to PlayStation 4 and upwards, but not the rest of the franchise, because there's 6 total, well, prior to the new God of War, there's 6 total original God of War games, and only one of them in the middle of the series is playable on modern hardware. Give me the God of War collection that has 1, 2, and the PlayStation portable games and Ascension on modern systems and then up to PC, please. It's really bizarre, personally. Aaron says, congrats for your launch on Pretzel from all of us on the Pretzel team. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who helped us get it live today and for everyone who helped make this an awesome process so far. I am stoked to be up here, and that just brings us one step closer to getting more music to creators, which is what I'm focused on, especially with all this DMC. In case you haven't noticed, that's the theme of today's show with all the DMCA stuff going around. We're providing options to you so you don't have to rely on licensed music. Anyway, Twitter Spaces are coming to desktop so that you can finally not have to use a mobile app for it, which is really cool. And they're going to have accessibility options and transcriptions, which are just awesome. Unreal Engine 5 got an early access little demo thing that you could play around with to look at some of the features, like the infinite level of detail generator, basically perfect tessellation and stuff like that. There's a wonderful video from our wonderful friends over at Digital Foundry from Alex, and I believe Richard was joining him there, talking about this and walking through it. Actually, it may have been John. I don't remember now. I'm sorry. I've been very sleepy, but awesome little video walking through the demo, what they could do with it, what the features looked like, the lighting systems, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was John, not Richard. Love John. Sorry. Great video about that if you want to learn about the Unreal Engine 5. I'm pretty sure I could not count on one hand the number of streamer news episodes we have had that have mentioned a new Switch model supposedly coming. Well, now we have some very much more official looking sources for a couple of news outlets claiming that an upgraded / replacement Nintendo Switch is planning to release this fall, and they wanted assembly as soon as July so that they could announce games that are coming to it at E3, which feels very aggressive and not super realistic, but at the same time, these sources have to be coming from somewhere, so who knows what the plan is. There's a wonderful video from our buddy over at Modern Vintage Gamer, if you want to check that out. He breaks it down and does a great job there. We have more Marantz and Denon AVRs that support HDMI 2.1 and 8K video and all of that. We had some release at the start of the year that I was hyping up, and then it turned out they all had some sort of huge fatal chipset issue with HDMI 2.1 and had a lot of features broken. So hopefully this alleviates some of that. Hopefully these don't have these issues, but we don't know for sure. And I believe Yamaha or someone was also teasing one, and there were also questions about whether they have fixes for those issues, and no one was certain. So I would be hesitant until reviews come out that confirm it, but I'm always happy to see more HDMI 2.1 tech coming out. The glorious RetroTink 5X Pro, which I just reviewed this past week, just got a new firmware update, which improves sampling for 480p, improves sampling for PAL games, improves the low-pass filter to reduce noise without necessarily hurting sharpness as much. Some chroma offset issues that were happening that people noticed, some issues with 720p, fixed up some specific consoles, added PAL support, even more so. Minimized the glitched image, the garbage image that showed up when the resolution changed. In general, improvements to stability. So that is pretty sick. He's already cranking these out, and he did confirm, or say that I could confirm during my review, that the PSP update is coming. So in my review, I requested that they have a bigger zoom mode for the PlayStation Portable because the games run at such a small size, and he said he was working on that, and that was definitely coming. So that is very exciting. The open source streaming platform known as Glimish is working on a community events program to get more, community-centric events and live stream things happening over there. And they want to help make your event happen and get you the features or the support that you need to host your event over on their service. So there you go. Check that out. Apply for them if you'd like. We talked about for a couple streamer news now that Sony, as it's come out in the Apple versus Epic lawsuit, Sony actually charges companies for crossplay on their platform. And so Borderlands 3 got crossplay for every platform and then immediately had to shut it down for PlayStation, presumably because they didn't want to pay Sony. Screw Sony for this. They need to change their stance on it, like other things. I'm not going to beat a dead horse because I'm trying to get to our last topic of the day. Twitter verification is officially rolling out. You can apply for it in the app and in the desktop. I have applied. Hopefully they approve me, but I didn't have like a hashtag campaign or something, so we'll see. Amid Evil, the awesome retro FPS from the guys that made Dusk and things like that, got a big RTX patch, and it looks freaking incredible. Digital Foundry did a dev stream with them playing through it and everything like that, so you can check that out too. But full DLSS as well, so you get nearly 3x faster performance of 4K, which is awesome, and the game just looks absolutely just bonkers with the RTX effects on. Like, I am gonna have to play through it with this soon because it looks incredible. Lone says in chat, today I learned PSPs had video out. Yeah, they had component video out. You had to buy a special component cable for it. The connection wasn't super reliable, so you can get color shifts as it loses connection, but it had a component video output that did 480p widescreen. It just had a super tiny view for the games, whereas the operating system took up the whole screen. It was really weird. All right, final topic for today. I'm not going to go through this too strongly because I'm just exhausted from the topic, but in being exhausted from it, I want to kind of address it so that I stopped being asked about it, I guess. Also, I just realized I never did my unboxing, so we'll slap this at the end as well. Before they announced all of the tags and things that the community had been demanding for Twitch, they first announced that day that they had separated the hot tubs and beaches category into its own thing. Basically, they are kind of isolating all the hot tub streamers into one place. That way they can have a dedicated category that they don't run ads on and that they can isolate in other ways. And ultimately, I just find so much of the conversation around it to be problematic and exhausted and whatever. But I want to say that we are seeing a net positive change for Twitch here. And it may not seem like it because it's been such a controversy and so much drama and everything like that. But what we are seeing is two things. First and foremost, I really think their strategy, if they have one at all, is that they're going to, because they can't just kick them off the platform. That would cause way too much backlash and be too problematic and open up to a gamut of other issues. But they also can't fully cater to them because they're not an adult website. And that will, hurt their advertising. And that was a big issue, is advertisers aren't going to want to be on a platform that has this content so prevalent. So I think what their strategy is going to be in the short to midterm is to basically isolate the hot tub streamers and then slowly remove features like advertising and front page featuring and all of that, to the extent that it becomes no longer a place that they want to be. That when you remove, it's basically how gentrification, or, the way that cities obnoxiously deal with the homeless or houseless population, which I don't agree with. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's that strategy of, if you make the place completely undesirable to be in, then they will go somewhere else. So this is them pulling out the resources and putting up the spike traps or whatever for these hot tub streamers so that they end up getting pushed somewhere else. I don't know that that's the right call, but I think that's what they're doing. But at the same time, the choices that they're being required to make here and the features that they are trying to make are actually beneficial for the platform on the whole. Because one of the issues, and Devin Nash brought this up in one of his talks, but one of the issues that causes the hot tub streamers to affect everyone's advertising revenue and things like that is because Twitch doesn't have a system in place like YouTube does when it comes to advertisers. On YouTube, you can granularly, as an advertiser, pick basically every detail, every living detail of not only the content, but the type of audience you want your ad to be exposed to. That way you can filter out certain audience members, you can filter out certain content and not have your ads run on certain content. Like Disney only advertises on the most family-friendly of family-friendly channels, and that even includes not allowing cuss words in the comments, which is, I try not to cuss much in my content, but I refuse to just filter out all cuss words in comments because that ain't gonna happen. But they have all this granular control over their advertising platform. Twitch doesn't have that. Twitch just has ads. And so by Twitch being forced to develop this system that isolates specific types of content to move, a group of streamers into one place, they are effectively having to develop this type of more diversified advertising system that isolates different types of content from each other, which will ultimately diversify the platform and allow advertisers to be more involved on Twitch in the long run. So this could actually be a really good change for Twitch with regards to all of the advertising possibilities, because it's been a mess on Twitch, and content separation and discovery possibilities on Twitch in the first place, along with all the tags. Although tags still don't show up in search, which is a huge problem because you can't actually search for them. And when there's 350 plus new ones, you need to be able to. But there is a lot of good change that could come for the platform from this. And I am very excited to see if they can handle that properly to do so. At the same time, we've now created, as chat has mentioned multiple times here, we've created this really awkward situation where the hot tub category now seems more desirable because of the lack of ads, because people don't want ads running on their streams because they turn away viewers. And so we've seen all sorts of, you know, meme streams going up there of like Geralt from The Witcher doing hot tubs, you know, in his hot tub in the bath from the Witcher game, and otters and things like that, which I think is in part, I think, a side effect that contributes towards the let's make it an undesirable place for those streamers, because suddenly you have a lot of the top streams not being the usual hot tub streamers. It's all of these meme streams. But it's an interesting strategy. Obviously, as we can see with the DMCA thing, their communication about any of this is a complete train wreck. So we'll see if they pull off any of it, but yeah. We're gonna hit our unboxings as we wrap up here today. Pabla mentions they missed the 4K 144. They're wondering if it's 444. Yeah, it's HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 1.4. It's currently out of stock now. It wasn't a couple hours ago. But HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 1.4 have 444 chroma subside playing at 4K 144 hertz, so it's fine. So I got just a couple packages to tease stuff that's coming up for today's stream. It's nothing really exciting, but I really like having this opportunity to share the things I'm getting in and out of the studio and kind of experimenting with you guys and things like that. So let me grab the boxes here real quick. Alright, so we're gonna do a fun one first before we do a content related one. Let's switch on over to Shabamo. I really need to reposition this camera so it's more pointed at the box and not my keyboard, because I can only push up my keyboard so far. But this is another pre-order run from Limited Run Games. I honestly don't know what is in this one because I have ordered way too much from them right now, but I don't get a lot of opportunities to talk about games lately, and so I want to share that. Actually, I did have another opportunity to talk about games that I want to share with you before today's stream is over. So let me get this open and I will show you what's going on. Oh, hey, okay. So this is one of those, whenever they do a bunch of specific releases at one time, they will do bundles of it so that you don't have to compete as harshly for the limited run nature of the limited runs. And so this was like, oh, I'm dropping stuff already. This was like the spring 2021 bundle or whatever. And they're always just like loosely thrown in here. It's kind of frustrating. But this is, we've got Neon City Riders on PS4 here, which looks like a lot of fun. And then we have the CD soundtrack for it. We have The Last Blade 2 as well on PS4. We have all of their trading cards, which I'm amazed never get destroyed in the packaging, given that they don't protect them in any way. I don't really have anything to do with them at the moment. We've got the vinyl soundtrack for Neon City Riders. This cover is sick. Oh, man. That is awesome. And then we've got The Last Blade 2 in this classic Neo Geo case, which is glorious. Big O case here. So secondly, I wanted to mention that I have picked up a Sennheiser HMD26, which is one of their broadcast headsets, and it's one that actually sounds incredible. The issue is it's extremely expensive. Something I discovered with it is when you buy it, it does not come with the audio ends attached, or at least this one that was supposedly brand new from Canada I bought did not. And so I had to buy some soldering stuff so I can attach a Nutric or whatever XLR connector as well as the 1/4 inch headphone jack to it. And so that is what is in here in this box. I switched to the wrong camera, but honestly this view is kind of fine. Where did my knife go? Here it is. So in this box, we also have Jason Schreier's book, Press Reset. I haven't picked it up yet. Interested to check it out. I've got... Oh, this doesn't even have the soldering stuff in it, so I don't have that yet. But I am finally finishing my Unraid server setup, and for that, I needed these USB-powered... They're basically just standard 120mm fans, but I figured out you could buy them with USB power and these rubber grommets designed to go in entertainment center cabinets or whatever. And I'm strapping these to the door of my server rack to push more air through the server. They're supposedly pretty quiet, so I'm pretty stoked for that. But then also I got some soldering, some blank XLR and 1/4 inch headphone ends for that headset. So I did want to mention, I had totally forgot for the housekeeping section, I posted my first game review in nearly like 10 years. I used to do primarily gaming content, and I don't anymore. I moved away from it for a long time. I'm finally getting back into it. You're going to see me on another channel relating to that soon. I can't really say yet, I don't think. But I did post here, if I pull up over here, my first game, proper game review in a long time, which is World of Demons, which is an iOS game from Platinum Games, the developers of Bayonetta and Vanquish and awesome games like that. It is actually a really cool game, and you can play it on like an Apple TV or whatever with a controller, or on your phone or iPad with a controller. And if we get to the actual gameplay here, the gameplay is great. I'm planning on doing more of these style of game reviews, which I'm calling Filthy Casual, which are from the perspective of a busy dad slash workaholic who doesn't have time to game a whole heck of a lot anymore, and kind of evaluate games on how enjoyable, obviously, a standard game review format, but also evaluate them on the balance of actually being able to play them with limited time and how they cooperate with the ability to, you know, jump in and out versus having to dedicate hours and hours and hours at a time to it. And so I'm really stoked for this. This one's a little longer because I'd been wanting to review World of Demons ever since I started it, and I've been playing it for like a couple months now, and so I had a lot of thoughts about this particular game. My goal is to make it a short form thing that I actually include here in Streamer News as well, and post it on Twitter and on my second channel over here. So go subscribe to that and check out that review if you're interested in more. I'm quite happy with how the review turned out, and I've got some performance benchmarks in there and stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's about it for today's stream. Thank you so much everybody who hung out with me and for dealing with the wackiness of the Amazon stream. We will have another Tuesday AFK chat stream talking about getting the best quality out of cheap webcams next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So go follow me on Amazon so you can check that out and see what webcams are actually worth using, because I'm frankly not a big fan of running a phone as a webcam for some reasons I'll talk about there. Thanks so much, guys. Hope you have a great weekend, and come join us on Discord, discord.gg/eposfox. Game night is tomorrow night. We're doing Battlefield Bad Company 2. It's going to be freaking amazing. Yeah. Thank you. See ya. Whoa. I keep hitting the wrong button.